Hi there. Welcome to Counseling Skills class. I am Dr. Crete, and I am sorry that we did not have a class tonight. We were just snowed in and stuck in our homes with all this frightful weather. But I did want to kind of go over a few things that I think are important to get started and make sure that we don't fall behind. Especially related to the overall course and the final assignments and a few things that are due coming up. So the first thing maybe I'll look at is this weekly assignment sheet. It's part of the syllabus that is on Brightspace, so you can look at that. It's on page 13. To me, it's the most valuable page because it's kind of what I follow. For due dates and so on, and I hope I have successfully matched that with what is on Brightspace. We're all having a learning curve as far as Brightspace is concerned, so I apologize for any things that might be confusing or hard to figure out on Brightspace. One thing I noted that some of you were doing a portfolio assignment. I apologize for that. I think that's a standard thing put in all the courses. It might come from the online counseling class, but you're not required to do that assignment. It's not a graded assignment on our syllabus. So if there's confusion there, I apologize. If you did do that, it looks like it's sort of getting you to organize your different courses. It's not a bad thing to do to prepare for comps, but it's not something I'm going to grade for this class. All right, but what I will be looking for in this class is a couple things. One really big assignment that comes at the end of the class, it's the required assignment. And in that required assignment, you're going to be doing a mock counseling session with somebody. It's not a real client. It's somebody that it could be a friend or an acquaintance. I would advise against doing a spouse, partner, an ex-spouse. Or somebody that you know very well, like or a best friend or anything. Maybe pick someone that you know a little bit that you think might cooperate. We'll go through the process of explaining that to them, but you're going to be doing a session that should be, I believe, at least 30 minutes long. And in that session, you're going to be exercising basic counseling skills, and they are the skills that we'll be learning for the next several weeks in this class. So you don't do this right away, but I just want you to have an understanding that it's coming up. You can already be thinking about who you might ask. I would say another part of this assignment that's very important is that you're going to be transcribing this by hand. So you're going to have to listen to the whole. You're going to have to videotape the counseling session. You're going to have to listen to the whole thing, and you're going to have to type it all out, and not use software to do that. I'm asking that you type it out by hand. You're also going to be line by line identifying all the skills that you used and identifying ones that you might have used instead and why. So you're going to be evaluating your own counseling skills at the end of this class. Now, I want to start off by telling you that there's no expectation at this point that you're an expert advanced counselor. I'm making the assumption that you're all beginner counselors. And even if you've had some experience in the field, I'm starting with that assumption. So this is not about measuring you against expert counselors who've been in the field for years and years. This is about learning the basic skills. So I'm most interested in you learning how to evaluate your own skill development and start building your own skills. Then I have some kind of expectation of where you have to be today or where you have to be exactly at the end of the class. So I'm just putting that out there because I know some people get anxious and nervous about the idea of doing actual counseling or anybody seeing their video or anything like that. So This is all about growth and development. If you're in this class, it means that you have gotten to a certain point and you're here in a master's degree program. So I need you to have confidence in yourself and trust that this is important part of the process, and that we're all learning. Even counselors who've been in the field for many years are always improving their craft. All right, so I need you to understand that this is a part of the end of the class, the required assignment, where you'll have done an interview and where you have transcribed it and where you will have done a major evaluation. And there's a whole chart and everything that's in the syllabus that you'll have to use for that. Now, and there's also a reflection paper that goes with that. So you can read all about that on page 15 and page 16 is the detailed explanation of that assignment. I'm not going to read that line for line, but I expect you to do that. And certainly if you have questions, to come to me with that. Now, what I'm asking you to do for next Monday is to do a short 5-minute interview with someone. And here, I mean, it could be the person you end up using for the 30-minute thing if you're able to arrange that already. But it's 5 minutes of just asking someone if they'd be willing to just talk to you for 5 minutes about anything. And preferably like maybe some challenge or issue they're having. And I would put it this way. For this and for the final assignment, you want somebody who brings an issue that is on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is I broke my nail, and 10 is I was in a traumatic car crash and then my whole family was killed in a fire. Pick something like a 3 or a 4 maybe. Okay, so something that is an ordinary, everyday, maybe issue or problem that somebody might need to talk through, but we're not doing major psychotherapy, we're not doing major trauma treatment, we're not solving all their deeper life issues. So, but it could be an issue at work, struggle with the career issues, or struggle with work balance. It could be an issue with a family member, or just, maybe feeling down or something like that. Could definitely be a topic. All right. So the 5-minute thing, you can just audio tape that if you want. Most people have on their phones, like a voice memo. So you don't have to do a video. You certainly can do a video, but it's only a 5-minute little clip. And you're not getting a grade for that. You just for part of participation in the class is you have to do it. But I'm not grading or evaluating how good you are in it. Okay, that's not the point. The point is to get a little baseline. So it's a baseline recording of just capturing a moment where you're talking with somebody about an issue for just a couple of minutes. If you end up doing a little longer than 5 minutes, like maybe you had 15 minutes, just choose a 5-minute portion of that where you think it captures some kind of interaction, right? Some people are going to talk your ear off and it's going to be hard to get anything in there. Other people might say almost nothing and you're sort of trying to pull something out of them. So try to pick something where at least you hear them talk and you hear you respond a little bit at a minimum. So it's a baseline. And what's going to happen is I would like you to bring those little baseline recordings to class on Monday. We will be playing them in front of the whole class. All right, so just be aware of that. And if we get to everybody, so I hope we do. And the purpose of that is going to be, for me, as we review the skills or introduce the skills, I'm going to point out a few things. It's not meant to be like some kind of harsh criticism or anything like that. It's just meant to be kind of using them as examples. So the point will be, I really would be shocked, in fact, somewhat disappointed if your 5 minutes was perfection incarnate, right? Yeah, I expect there's going to be things, I don't expect necessarily to see anything bad, but just where I might say, here's an idea, or here's a suggestion, or here's where you might have gone with that. And the purpose of that is I want you to save that information. I want you to retain that so that when you do your longer video toward the end, that you incorporate that feedback if possible. So all I'm looking for is a 5-minute capturing of some kind of interaction where you are talking to somebody about some challenge or life issue that they want to talk about for just a few minutes. All right. So that sort of sets that up. So next week, the baseline recording. Oh, on here it says 10 minutes. I said 5. But at 10 minutes, it probably makes more sense anyway. It's hard to have a conversation of much substance in 5 minutes. So, if once again, like I said, if it goes 15 minutes, show me 10. It might be that in some cases, I'll listen to a couple of minutes and feel like I had a good sense to give feedback and just leave it at that. For other cases, I might want to listen to more. So, but the reason we do it in class with everyone is because you're going to learn from everyone else. So, and you're going to hear the feedback I give to other people. So I guarantee you that one person gets feedback, it applies to almost everybody else too at some point. All right. Okay, so just looking at this, you might notice there's a discussion post almost every week. Not the week of the midterm exam, which we'll do in class. But every other week there's a discussion. So I expect you to respond with a kind of detailed response. I saw many of all your introductions, and they were fantastic in terms of detail. And thank you so much for sharing about yourselves. I think that's really helpful, especially since we're not even meeting today. I'm going to have to make the introductions kind of quicker, the live ones. Anyway, so thank you for that. So what I'm looking for in the introductions is to get a little meaty. Okay? I care about whether you're applying the knowledge from the coursework. So it could be stuff we talk about in class, definitely stuff we talk about in the textbook, because I'm not a textbook teacher. I don't go through PowerPoints of every single thing in the textbook. I expect you to read those. So I want you to apply the knowledge from the textbook, apply any life experience you have, any professional experience, personal only if you're comfortable sharing, but to show me that you actually really understand the complexity of the question, that you go a little deeper. Okay? So I'm not looking for just a perfect pat answer. I'm looking for some thought, some analysis, some reflection, some application. All those things is what I'm looking for in a good post. And I also don't think and you have to respond to 2 people, right? So just hey, that was great is not really going to be a good answer to get full points. I want to see that you engage each other a little bit, where you talk about it. You can agree with someone for sure and explain a little bit why you agree, or add to what they're saying if you agree. You're allowed to disagree as long as it's polite and it's courteous, and just saying, hey, I'm really not sure that I agree with that, and here I have these different thoughts, and so that's okay. In fact, I like that. I like to see that you guys are all thinking about these issues, because they're not always simple or easy or straightforward. All right. So make sure that you do your discussion posts and that you respond to 2 people. The first one was actually due. Oh, the first one was already due. So I'll try to get those looked at soon, but your responses are due by the 10th. Okay. And then, so the midterm is not till week 4, and that'll be in class on that Monday night. So please be in attendance for that. And then the final exam is also due on the last day of class, which we'll do in class as well. There's an error. Darn. There's an error I just saw on the syllabus. The required assignment is not due Tuesday, February 28th. That required assignment is going to be due before that. Oh, I have it in 2 places. One place is correct, which is the Tuesday, February the 18th. And then the one that's incorrect is on the other side at the bottom, the 28th. So please, if you wouldn't mind scratching that off. Right. Okay, so that is a little bit the syllabus. Let me see if there's anything else I forgot. So it's pretty straightforward as far as assignments. The major things that get you grades are going to be the discussion board posts, the midterm and final, and this major required assignment. Okay, so the rest of the class, and why I kind of love teaching this class, because I like this stuff, is the clinical skills themselves. And so we're going to be talking about them, we're going to be practicing them, I might try to show you some examples of them, and videos or stuff like that in class. So that's kind of the fun part. It's the meat of what one does as a counselor. I will say that it's also a very introductory look at those basic skills. So these skills are based more on the work of kind of more person-centered counseling. So think Carl Rogers, and anything that goes a little further than that. Like you might be thinking cognitive behavior therapy, or certainly anything like EMDR or brain spotting, or even something more specific, like specific methods of Gestalt therapy or whatnot. Those are all things that you would learn later, like maybe with additional training or so on. You may, of course, pick up aspects of that, obviously, throughout this class, but this is really teaching you the very basic skills. And I would start out by saying that those skills are difficult to learn because you have to unlearn things that you've probably done successfully a lot of your life. So the part that's hard for most beginning counselors is to stop working. So one of the first things you have to do is relax, kind of take a step back, and stop trying to fix and solve the problems of your client. That's hard to do. It requires things like being comfortable with silence. It requires a sense of having some confidence in yourself, and being able to just listen. And we always feel a little uncomfortable with that at the beginning. We feel like, well, this person might be paying us, right? Or expecting something of us. And so I have to be really busy. Well, you are busy, but not doing the things that you think of or that you normally do. So you're busy working on your own self and getting yourself into what I would call a mindful place, or a place where you're relaxed and where you're receptive and where you're open. Not always easy for all of us. And you're into a place where you're really listening to the other person. You're observing their body language. You're listening to their words. And you're conceptualizing in some way the things that they're sharing with you. And really what you're doing is you're really spending a lot of time accepting and inputting that stuff as non-judgmentally as you can at first. And you're creating you're almost like a mirror for them, for that person. And in that mirroring, you're kind of giving back to them what you heard. Not word for word or parroted, but in a way you're giving it back to them in some way. And we'll get through talking in a lot more detail about these different skills. But some of the giving back to them is just giving back information or content. Sometimes we're giving back feelings. And sometimes we're giving back meaning. So there's different levels, right, of just giving back content is fairly simple, right? And somebody says to you, my husband is considering leaving me, and I was thinking, and I was running around the house all day in a mess, right? Well, your husband was thinking of leaving you, is just saying something back to them as content. That must be very painful, or that must be very frightening, or whatever the emotion is giving back to them a feeling. Giving back meaning might be a lot harder. in that case, it might be something more like, I could see that this is going to change. It seems like this is really going to change your life, and this is very hard for you to make a life change, right? So all those, there's different levels of simply giving back, reflecting back what a client shares. But it's really difficult not to go into busy solve it mode. Oh, well, have you talked to your husband? Oh, have you thought about your finances? Have you talked to a lawyer yet? Have you blah, blah, blah? Like, that is easy to go into because you might easily start thinking, oh my gosh, well, how can I help this person navigate this problem and fix it and solve it and get better? That's actually not what we're doing. And not to say there isn't ever a place for giving advice in counseling, but there are usually better ways of getting at that. A lot of times our clients actually know any advice we might give them. Not always, but a lot of times. And so instead, we use questioning rather than advice giving, or we probe, we elicit from them their options rather than give them the options or tell them what their options are. Okay, so that just gives you a little idea of the kind of skills that we're going to be learning in this class that are not your typical skills, that are unique to the counseling profession or the mental health clinical work. Okay, so I wanted to also throw something out while I have you, sort of have you, is that we do need to do an additional little piece of work for having missed this class. So I'm going to ask you this question, and after you watch this video, I would like you to answer this question and then post some kind of response to it, and where you just kind of share. And then I would like you to at least respond to somebody's, in some way, respond. You can do it to multiple people, but at least respond to someone, preferably someone that hasn't gotten a response back yet, sharing your thoughts about it. So here's my question. Based on your counseling theories class, right? And I think most of you have taken a counseling theories class before this one, because it comes before this one in block 1, although it's not required that you do them in order. So if you haven't, let me know. But based on your counseling theory class and any experiences you may have had in the mental health field, please describe the theories, for example, person-centered or cognitive behavioral, solution-focused, feminist, relational cultural, any theory that most appeals to you, and explain why. Okay, please keep in mind, though, that this is subject to change, right? As a counselor, when I was doing a master's degree and asked about this question, I was probably Adlerian and person-centered, and not to say I don't still value those, but I moved into a long CBT phase a little bit, and then I've moved more into relational cultural theory and emotionally focused couples theory and definitely trauma treatment modes of work. So I definitely have evolved. So you may too. But right now, what theories interest you the most? Okay, so that's the first part. And then the second part I'd like to ask you is, what do you believe, or your understanding from that theory, what do you believe to be the essential skill that theory would require of the counselor in a session? All right? So what's the skill that would have to be perhaps learned or practiced to use that theory? Now, I appreciate you're not all experts yet in that theory, so you reserve the right to come up with an answer that you may change later. But for now, just based on your own thoughts and understanding of that theory, what's the skill, or you could name a couple if there's more than one that comes to mind, that you think would be required there? And I'm curious what your answer will be. So if you don't mind doing that, that would be fantastic. Let me think here, look here. All right. I don't think I have anything else that I need to tell you. Also, feel free to post after this video any questions that you have about the syllabus. If it's something that you really feel like can't wait. Otherwise, if it's not urgent, please feel free. I mean, hopefully we'll see you all on Monday, and we can address them in person then. But don't hesitate to respond with a question, or even just email me if you think it's just relates just mostly to you. Feel free to do that. All right, take care. Hope you guys all have a great week, and we will see you next Monday. Bye-bye.